Okay, so we're going to do a few more examples. Here's your first example for today's notes. We're going to solve and check each of these inequalities. So isolate the variable, whatever it is, and then we're going to check our solution to see that we did the work correctly. Okay, so remember we talked about treating the inequality sign as an equal sign. So we're going to isolate our variable like we would if it was an equal sign, but keeping in mind if we divide or multiply by a negative, we'll change the direction, and then our solution is actually not just one number, it's a set of numbers. So what I would do is I'd look at the left side here, and I would see, are there any like terms that I could combine on the left side? Negative 6 and negative 1. So a negative 1 minus 6 is a negative 7. So we can rewrite the left side to show negative 7 minus 6x. Is greater than negative 11 minus 7x. Okay, so then the next step is is there anything on the right side? I guess I should look at the right. Anything on the right that I can combine? No like terms, so I'm ready to get all variables on one side and all constants on the other. So I like to have my variable on the left side, which means I need to move the 7x. So how do I move that 7x to the other side, Josiah? Add 7x to both sides. Yep. And the 7x on my right is gone. I have a negative 11 on the right. I still have my negative 7 out front, and then negative 6x plus 7x would be 1x. There we go. So I have a negative 7 plus x is greater than a negative 11. So I need to isolate this x. It's where I want it to be, so I need to get rid of that 7 out front, the negative 7 out front. So, James, what do I do to move that negative 7 to the other side? Add 7, yep. We're going to do whatever it takes to get 0 for this. So negative 7 plus what would give me 0? 7. If I divided negative 7 by something, that's not going to give me 0. So I have to add 7 to negative 7 to get 0. So I have 0 plus x, which is just x, is greater than a negative 11 plus 7 is negative 4. Okay, no need to change our direction of our inequality because we did not multiply or divide by a negative to solve for x. So x is greater than a negative 4. That means there are a whole lot of numbers that work in this inequality. And it's going to be all the numbers greater than negative 4. So we're going to do two things. We're going to pick a value that's greater than negative 4 and show you how it works, and pick a value that's less than negative 4 and show you that it does not work. Okay, but on the check, I'm going to want you to use a value in our inequality. So let's see, Gemma, can you give me a number that is greater than negative 4? 2. Okay, so we're going to plug that into the inequality and see how if that works. Okay, plug 2 in for x. So the question is, when we plugged in 2, which is greater than a negative 4, so we think 2 is part of our solution set, we get a negative 19 is greater than negative 25. Is that a true statement? Is a negative 19 greater than negative 25? Remember, with negatives, our negative 1 is larger than negative 2, which is larger than negative 3. So when it looks like the numbers are getting bigger, they're actually smaller when we talk about negatives. So this is a true statement. So we can say that x is greater than negative 4. But now let's plug in a value that is not a part of our solution set, we don't think, to see how it affects our inequality. So Camilla, give me a number that is not greater than negative 4. Negative 6. So let's plug in a negative 6 where we see x. We are going to put negative 6 in its place and then simplify. I want you to do this as well on your paper so that you can verify it as well. Okay, so we picked a number that was not in our solution set and plugged it in and found out that we got 29 is greater than 31. Is that a true statement? No, 29 is not greater than 31. So x equaling negative 6 cannot be part of our solution set. So that just reinforces the fact that our solution set is the values greater than a negative 4. Okay, so let's move to another problem that's a little more difficult. A few more steps in it. If you take your time, and you will be okay. So get this written down and we'll work it out and talk about the solution set. All right, first step. Tyrese, what's the first thing I need to do? Distribute. So I have two places where I'm going to distribute. I'm going to distribute the negative 2 through that parentheses, this parentheses, and then I'm going to distribute the negative or the 5 through that parentheses. Actually, the negative 5 through that parentheses. So negative 2 times x is a negative 2x. Whoops. Then we take a negative 2 times a negative 12. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that's going to be positive 24. Now I'm going to distribute that negative 5. Negative 5 times x is a negative 5x. And then a negative 5 times a positive 2 is a negative 10. Okay, so check my math. Everything look okay with that? All right, there we go. We got negative 9x plus 4x on the right. So on the left now, we're looking to see if we have any like terms. So I have this negative 2x. Do I have another x that I could add or subtract from that? I do. I have 5x that I'm going to subtract. So a negative 2 minus 5 is a negative 7x. And then with the 24, I have a minus 10 that I need to do for that 24. So 24 minus 10 is 14. And it's positive 14. Whoops. And then on the right side, I do have two terms I can combine. They're both x, so I'm going to take a negative x, 9x plus 4x, and that's going to give me a negative 5x. Okay, so two ways we can do this. Since my 14 is already over here, I can leave it there and I can add 7x over. How many of you would prefer to have their x on the left? Does it matter? All right, so let's leave 14 where it is for the time being, and then I'll show you how it would work if we move the 14 as well. So first, since 14 is on the left side, I'm going to move my variable to the right side. So to move that 7x, I've got to add 7x to both sides. And I get rid of 7x there. I have 14 on the left. Negative 5x plus 7x is 2x. And then to solve for x, I've got to divide both sides by 2. And I get x on the right, 7 on the left. So reading this left to right would be 7 is less than x, correct? But I like to read it with stating my variable first. So if I state my variable first, x is actually greater than 7. So if I want to switch the sides that my variable's on, after I'm done, I have to change the inequality direction. So if I want x on the left now, and 7 on the right, I've got to change the inequality so that it reads it correctly. Okay, so 7 is less than x if I read this again, which is also x is greater than 7 if I read it right to left. So if I want to switch sides that the variable's on at the very end, I need to change the direction of my inequality to keep the inequality the same. Okay, so our solution we think is x is greater than 7. So we chose 8, a number that's greater than 7 to plug it in. So I'm going to do order of operations. So parentheses first. I need to simplify what's inside my parentheses. So I'm going to do subtraction. 8 minus 2, 8 plus 2. Okay. So on the left I have negative 2 times 8 minus 12 is a negative 4. Minus 5 times 8 plus 2 is 10. And then on the right, I can go ahead and multiply, right? All I have left to do is multiply before I add. So a negative 9 times 8 is a negative 72. And 4 times 8 is 32. All those calculations look okay to you? Okay, so make sure you're writing this down in your notes because you're going to want to do a check as well on your assignment. So now I'm ready to multiply on the left. Negative 2 times a negative 4 is 8. 5 times 10 is 50. And negatives, now on the right, I can just add the negative 72 and the 32, and that's, I believe, going to give me a negative 40. And then 8 minus 50, negative 42. And is a negative 42 less than a negative 40? Is it smaller? It is. So we can say that x is greater than 7. Okay, so on your assignment today, you're going to solve, and then you're going to have to check one value to be sure that one value that's in the range of answers that we have to see if it's correct. And so go to your homework assignment log page, and you're going to put today's date, which is October 1st. And you're going to put worksheet 2.4, because that's what we are on, right? Part 1.